So I'm very excited to chat with Carrie Vitt about castor oil packs, as this is a topic that hasn't yet been covered on the podcast. So I'm going to go ahead and give Carrie's short but sweet bio. So Carrie is a functional nutritional therapist at Our Well House, and she's the publisher of the health and wellness site Deliciously Organic. Carrie specializes in teaching about how to use nutrition, detox therapies, and lifestyle changes for those with thyroid disease and autoimmunity. And thank you so much for joining us, Carrie.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, really. And I meant what I said. Obviously, I'm excited whenever I speak with anybody, but I don't know if there's anybody that's been more excited to talk about castor oil packs. Because again, I've been searching for a while for an expert, and then, as you know, we met years ago at Dr. Isabella Wentz's Thyroid Mastermind. I think it was in 2015.
Yeah.
And I don't think we chatted about castor oil packs then, but
Probably not.
I've been following you, and just again, I was like, okay, I'm going to reach out to Carrie, and
Yeah,
just I'm glad you agreed to do this. And so
definitely.
yeah, so why don't you start out with your backstory, how you
Mhm.
are doing what you're doing, not only with the castor oil packs, but again, just helping
Yeah.
people with thyroid conditions, autoimmune thyroid conditions.
Yeah. I mean, I got started in this whole world, I guess you could say, about 20 years ago. I had chronic migraines and IBS and eczema and discovered it was from my food. And so pretty soon after that, I started my site, Deliciously Organic. And then years later, I had an amalgam filling removed. So, as we know, amalgam is about 50% mercury. And I didn't know at the time I needed to go to someone who was properly trained. And it was a very long appointment. And as soon as I sat up from the chair, I knew I was sick. I actually told the dentist, was like, something's wrong with me. I don't feel well. And basically, over the course of a couple months, my health just took a nosedive. I became allergic to literally every single food. There was not a food I could eat that I didn't react to. And really, I was reacting to tap water, perfumes. I mean, I basically just couldn't do anything. And I had 24/7 hives on my neck and all over my face. I was very miserable, let's just say. Couldn't sleep, hair falling out, depression. I mean, you name it. And as I'm sure a lot of y'all listening today probably have had the experience of, um, like I did, my doctor wasn't taking me seriously. I knew something was wrong with me, and they just kept saying, "You have dry skin, go home." And it took me 9 months to find a doctor who would just run just literally basic labs on me. And I also went to an allergist because I was reacting to everything, right? So, of course, I must have allergies, and everything came back negative. And she actually said, "You know what? I've heard of people with Hashimoto's that get hives. So let's test for that." And lo and behold, I had Hashimoto's. And so they offered me thyroid medication. And I was already coming from the perspective that food and lifestyle changes and all that can heal and change the body. So I asked the doctor, like, "Well, how's this going to heal my thyroid?" And he was like, "Yeah, no, that's not how it works. Like, your thyroid's going to stop working. You'll be on meds the rest of your life." And so I just said, no, thank you. And started working with a holistic nutritionist who, helped me with a nutrient dense diet, castor oil packs. I used a lot of those. Some other detox and drainage therapies, obviously whole food supplements, that we changed according to my labs and symptoms and things like that. And it took me a while. I mean, one of my biggest root causes, because we know there's always multiple when we have autoimmunity, but one of my biggest was the heavy metals, and my liver had just gotten overloaded. And so it took me a while, but fortunately I was able to get the disease into remission and still don't take any medications, which I'm very thankful for. And it just gave me a passion to start helping other people that are in the same situation. And when I went through all this, I didn't know that millions of people have thyroid disease, So when I came out on the other end, went back and got my certification and actually joined the practice that my nutritionist owned and mentored under her for many years. She unfortunately passed away a few years ago. So now I, could just continue to work on sharing and teaching other people all the things that honestly that she taught me. Like I feel like 95% of what I know is what she taught me through working with her and her mentorship and things like that. So just really, it's really, really fun to help people now that have thyroid issues, even if it's like giving them little steps that they can take just to feel like a little bit better.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that, and great that you're not on any thyroid hormone replacement. So you've never been on thyroid hormone replacement?
I never took it. Never did. And I look back at my labs and I'm like, wow. Like I was kind of a mess, but I just deep down, I was like, this is not what I want to do. And I know that's not for everybody. I think thyroid hormone replacement can be very, very helpful. It just wasn't for me. And we were able to get my thyroid, working again and the conversion going again and all that type of stuff. So so far, I've never needed it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it does depend on the person. So if
Yeah,
someone's listening to this and
yeah,
you're taking thyroid hormone replacement, again, it might be something you need to take.
totally.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of, or I would say probably just about all medical doctors, once they see that elevated TSH, even without testing anything else,
Yeah,
some of them don't even test the antibodies, but a lot of times, yeah, they'll put someone on thyroid hormone and that's it. They'll say it's just like, the
there you go.
practitioner said to you, you need to take it and stay on it. So it's,
Right.
yeah, great that you have avoided it. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so before we dive into the castor oil packs, can you
Mhm.
talk a little bit about the lymphatic system and why it's important?
Yeah, I mean, basically, the lymphatic system runs all throughout the body, right? I think it's super interesting that, like, from the neck up, there's over 300 different lymph nodes, which is kind of cool. So there's a lot in the neck around the thyroid and above the neck and stuff like that. And basically, it helps get rid of waste. I mean, if we're going to put it like just super, super simple. And so it doesn't have a pump. So it's very important that we move our body so that it can pump. The things can move through, right? And a lot of the lymphatic system also goes through the liver and things like that. But it's just important to keep it moving. If we're just going to keep it really, really, really basic and simple, so people can understand. I mean, but it's really important to have that movement. And if we don't, then the system can get congested and we can start to see, especially like in the thyroid, we can start to see things like nodules and swelling and different things like that.
Yeah, and so that's how one of the ways, or maybe perhaps the main way that castor oil packs could benefit people just by, helping to support that lymphatic system.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and how about nodules? So like, what have you seen? What's your, if you could talk, I guess, a little bit about your experience, maybe, either your
Mhm.
personal experience, because you did say you used castor oil packs, I think when you were dealing
Yes.
with Hashimoto's, and I know it's
Yes.
not just the thyroid. So like, did you just use it on your thyroid? Did you use it on the thyroid liver? Do you
Right.
recommend it for people with nodules? Is it just for Hashimoto's, or can people with Graves' disease also use castor oil packs?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it can be used for a lot of different things. So, castor oil is kind of cool because when you use a pack, so basically it's like you have a piece of cotton flannel, you put some castor oil on it, and you put it on you. We can talk about like the details of that in a little bit if we want. But when we do that, it soaks into the skin, and studies have shown that it actually helps raise your lymphocyte count. So these are like the white blood cells. I call them like the soldier cells that go get things done, right? And they can raise them for up to 7 hours, which is kind of cool. So I really love using them for myself and did use them for myself. And then for my clients, doing a castor oil pack like at the end of the day, because then it will raise those lymphocyte levels. And then you take that pack off, you go to sleep. And when you're sleeping, your body does all sorts of work, right? Like rest and repair and detox and healing and restoring. And so you've got those lymphocyte levels up. And so it's just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like hitting a boost button on your system to just help the system heal and get the things done that it needs to do. So I always advise people using it over the liver first. It's very important to start doing that first before you start using it on other parts of the body. If you immediately start using them over the thyroid, in my experience and in practitioners that I've studied under and talked to, and even my personal experience, it can cause a negative reaction, like a rash or itching or raised bumps or something like that. So it's a really good idea to do them for over the liver about 3 times a week for a month. And then you can start doing them over different parts of the body. They can be used for thyroid cysts and nodules for your liver. They're also great for like ovarian cysts and uterine fibroids, constipation, inflamed joints, obviously lymphatic drainage, headaches, migraines, or conditions when you just have poor elimination in the body. So you can kind of use them like anywhere, which is kind of cool. Like if you sprain your ankle, you can use it on your ankle. You know, if you've got ovarian cysts, you can be using it on the lower abdominal area and things like that. And what I've found, you asked about like how to use them for like with the thyroid and things like that. I found that it just helps slowly and very gently drain the tissues, basically. So if there's things in there that need to come out, if we're going to keep it real simple, I like to keep things very, very simple. Then it helps with that. But I recommend you do one over your thyroid, or your liver, like I said, for a few weeks, and then try and do it over your thyroid. You can do that for about 15 minutes and then follow it up with one over your liver. If you have Hashis, you can use them, hypothyroid. When it comes to Graves and hyperthyroid, you just want to be careful using it over your thyroid, especially if you have elevated T4. Because if you do that over the thyroid, it could cause the tissues to just be too active, and then you could like have a negative reaction. You know what I mean? So you just want to go very, very slow. And of course, it also helps to know, like, even if you've been diagnosed hyper or diagnosed Graves, like what are your thyroid hormones up to, right? Because I mean, I'm sure you've worked with clients that have Graves that they have the antibodies, but they don't have elevated thyroid hormone. So it's always good to kind of like know that, engage, and just go very, very slowly.
Okay, that's good to know. So if someone has overt hyperthyroidism, like if their T4 specifically is elevated, then they probably want to stay away from putting the castor oil packs on the thyroid, but they still could put it on other areas of the body. Like they could still do the liver 3 times a week and just continuously do that until the thyroid is, the thyroid hormone levels normalize, or at least the T4 normalizes. And okay.
Yeah. And then you could use that and just go slow. Sometimes, I mean, especially if you have been diagnosed with hyper or Graves, just 5 minutes and see how you do. Slow is the name of the game when it comes to all of this type of stuff.
Yeah, no, that's thanks for, I agree. I mean, in a lot of things, you want to take it slow. When you start putting it on the thyroid, so again, maybe start with 5 minutes, like you said, but what would you want to build up to? Like you said, with the liver, like is the same thing, like eventually do like 3 times a week for the thyroid as well, or?
Yeah, eventually you'd want to do, I'd say about 15 minutes usually over the thyroid. You can work up to doing that every day. I would say go super, super slow, very, very, very slow. But you could do that 3 times a week and just for 15 minutes, and always do it for 15 minutes, then follow with a pack over the liver. And that's the same for if you're doing it anywhere else in the body. Like let's say, like that, the castor packs are also great for cysts in the breast tissue. So let's say you do it over the breast tissue for 15 minutes, follow it up with the liver. Always follow with the liver afterwards.
For another 15 minutes?
45.
45.
So
okay. So
15 minutes over the other part of the body and then 45 over the liver.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And how about larger goiters? Have you noticed it helping in some situations if, again, the person's not hyperthyroid, but for whatever other reason they have a large goiter, because there could be other causes? Have you seen where that could help to shrink a goiter?
Yeah. With goiter and cysts and nodules, I will say I've seen it help all 3. I always combine that though with iodine supplementation. So
Okay.
I am in the camp and was trained that, because I know that's a controversial topic, that, I mean, of course, we can't make thyroid hormone without iodine, right? But also that iodine supplementation, especially with goiter, because a lot of goiter is rooted in iodine deficiency. But that can really help to bring down the inflammation when you use iodine supplementation along with castor oil packs. And or I've seen it happen like in my practice, and even members of my thyroid course have let me know, like, hey, my doctor let me know, like, my cysts have shrunk or they're gone, my nodules have shrunk or they are gone. So do you want me to talk about iodine for a second?
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know we were going to bring this up, but I love talking about iodine. So yeah, if you could talk about, I don't know if you use iodoral or what, like what do you use or what do you recommend?
Well, number one, I always go very, very slowly, right? Again, slow is the name of the game. So I'll start with prolamine iodine from Standard Process.
Yes,
Sometimes
I'm
I'll
very,
have them
very
do
familiar. Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes I'll have them do half a capsule, or a tablet. A lot of times we'll just start with one, and then slowly start working up. So the way I was trained and the way I've seen it play out too with the clients in my practice that I have worked with is, number one, you have to make sure that T4 is not elevated, right? I mean, if T4 is up, let's not supplement with iodine right now because that could cause that to go up. If that's not elevated, then usually iodine supplementation can be used. And I've found even for those with Graves, a lot of times they are iodine deficient. We a lot of times think that iodine is only needed for the thyroid, but we need it for so many other tissues of the body, so many others. And sometimes when people supplement with iodine, they might have a negative reaction, and there can be different reasons for that. Number one, maybe they just don't need it, right? Because we don't all need all these different kinds of supplementations. Their T4 could be up. The third reason that I see often is there is liver congestion. And so it's causing the thyroid tissues to detoxify too fast, and it's causing a negative effect. So if I see someone that has a negative reaction, I'm like, okay, I've actually never seen it in the years that I've been working one-on-one with clients. But we'll work on you can work on the liver for a bit longer and then go back and start supplementing with iodine. I can't even tell you, I wish I had a number. I mean, I've dozens and dozens and dozens of clients I've worked with Hashimoto's. I supplement them, not mega doses by any means, maybe we're at like 1 milligram or something like that, but we supplement with that. And, of course, doing nutrient dense diet, detox, all those things. And their antibodies come down. I've never seen it add fuel to the fire ever when I do it in the way that I was trained. Right. So there's just things you want to watch out for, but I'm a big fan of it. I mean, it has antiviral properties too. I mean, it's really important, and I think that's one of the things in the thyroid community that I think we've kind of missed.
Yeah, I'm definitely not anti-iodine. I will say I am cautious as far as taking like really large doses, but
Yes.
I
Yes.
yeah, and I've had a good experience with iodine in the past, and I'm very familiar with prolamine iodine from Standard
Yeah.
Process. But and read Dr. David Brownstein's book, of
Yes.
course,
Oh,
Iodine.
yeah.
Why you need
Oh,
it, why
yeah.
you can't live without it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting because you said usually also you don't go like real high doses, like 1 milligram usually, because that
Yeah.
which
And that's
which
not super high. I mean, compared
no,
to like Dr. Brownstein, who was doing like 50 milligrams or
exactly.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I think a maintenance dose is like 12.5 like milligrams according to Dr. Brownstein. Now, do you do testing? Do you do like a urinary test, or you just don't do the testing and just do it slow and see how they respond?
Yeah, I mean, I always look at their thyroid numbers first so we can know, like, are we hyper? Are we not? Obviously, I don't diagnose or anything, but I just look.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then, if we've got some signs of like, oh, you've got nodules or you've got cysts or, I don't know, maybe you're not sweating or maybe your eyes aren't tearing and things like that, then we'll just slowly start to add it in. And usually I'll just get up to, 1 to 2 milligrams, but that's also with them eating, foods that contain iodine and stuff too. And seeing just such good results. And especially if we've got like, going back to like the goiter, the nodules, the cysts, using that supplementation along with supporting that liver and doing those castor oil packs over the thyroid, it's just a good combination. I've seen it work over and over.
Yeah, and one thing you mentioned, like why you gave a few reasons why someone might have a negative reaction to iodine. And you mentioned liver congestion, but on top of that, iodine competes with the other halides, bromine
Yes.
and fluor. So that's
Yes.
also if someone has like, if they have higher levels of bromine, for example, and they take the iodine,
Right.
you could have a detox reaction by excreting the
Exactly.
bromine. So it's
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
well, thank you again. I didn't expect you to talk about iodine, but I'm always interested in chatting about iodine because there are, like I said, I am on the cautious side, but I'm not overly cautious where there are some will say don't even give a multivitamin, with iodine and avoid all foods, with iodine and it's yeah. So again,
Which I hear a lot. I mean, anytime I talk about iodine on social media, on my sites, to those on my email list and stuff, like people always come back going, but wait, I thought iodine was bad for the thyroid. I thought that it was horrible if you had Hashimoto's. And I'm like, I hate that, like, that people think that because there's caveats. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, for some people you might need to pull back a little, but we need iodine for the salivary glands to be able to sweat, for the breast tissue, for so many things. It's not just for the thyroid.
Yep, well said. So yeah, thanks for
Yeah.
chatting about iodine and yeah, so let's go back to the castor oil packs and if you could
Yeah.
yeah, if you could talk about I guess like how can people use a castor oil pack,
Yeah.
and then where should they get them like or the materials to put together
Yes.
their own castor oil pack?
Yeah. So, I mean, like I was saying, the reasons that we could use them are for like goiter, nodules, cysts, just to support your immune system. If you get sick, they're a great thing to have on hand because they raise your lymphocyte levels. Can be really helpful for your liver, especially if you struggle with migraines or if you're under converting free T4 to free T3, you have constipation. I mean, there's lots and lots of different ways to use it. And I personally am a fan of you just buy a piece of cotton flannel. Usually you have to order that online or some small health food stores will carry that. And then a bottle of organic hexane-free castor oil. Hexane-free is not hard to find. It says it on the label. I know that there are companies that are selling like kits and things like that. It's just a lot more expensive. So I don't see why you need to spend more money on a pack like that. So get your cotton flannel, you get your castor oil, and then I recommend a hot water bottle, an old towel, and then now I'm not even a plastic, but a Ziploc bag, and I'll explain in a second. So what you do is you take that piece of cotton flannel, you drizzle the castor oil on it, and then you lay down and you put that over your liver. So that's like on the right side under the rib cage. If it goes up, if you're a woman, if it goes up over the breast tissue, well, men have breast tissue as well, but you know what I mean? If it goes over the breast or it goes like lower abdominal area, it's totally fine. And then, so you have that cotton flannel there. And then I put a Ziploc bag on top of that. And then I put an old towel. The reason I do this is because castor oil, it stains anything and everything, right? And so if you just put the old towel, then it's going to start seeping into the towel and then it's sticky. I mean, it just gets everywhere. So just having that Ziploc, it's just a barrier. Some people have written in and said, I don't like that. I want to use parchment paper. And I'm like, great, use parchment paper. You would just need to probably use a new piece every time. So you've got your flannel, you've got the Ziploc or some kind of barrier, an old towel, and then on top of that, just put a hot water bottle. I prefer a hot water bottle over a heating pad because then you're not dealing with any electric currents or being exposed to that. Plus, a hot water bottle is really nice to have on hand. Like if you don't have one, they're just nice, especially in the winter. If it's just cold, fill it up with hot water and like put it on your stomach. Or honestly, if you're just having like a day where you just feel kind of down, it's very comforting to use a hot water bottle like on your abdomen or something like that. So when you have all the castor oil on you or the pack, just lay there, sit there 45 minutes, read, watch TV, whatever you want, sleep. And you can do 45 minutes to an hour. I don't really recommend, I know it's kind of trendy right now to sleep in it. I mean, number one, that's really messy and it's just going to get all over the place if you roll around. Second, I have talked to some practitioners who've said that like, keep it on for too long, then you could like toxins could start coming out of the skin into the pack. And you don't really want that. You just want the body to absorb it and then you take it off. So 45 minutes, and then you just wipe it off, like whatever residual is on your abdomen, just wipe it off with that old towel. And that's how you do it over the liver. And then if you're going to do it over any other part of the body, let's say the thyroid, because that's, you know, our main area that we're talking about, just cut a little rectangle off of that cotton flannel. And again, that's also why I don't like to buy one of those things that's a pack that's like a certain, you know, shape or size, because then you can cut little pieces off if you want. And you just want it to just cover, you know, this part of your neck where your thyroid is. And I will say there's enough warmth coming from your neck that you don't need to use the hot water bottle. So just put that there, and then a little towel, and you just kind of want to lay there, you know, with your head back, you know, 10, 15 minutes the first time. If you had any kind of negative reaction, just stop, just wipe it off. It's okay. It just means your thyroid's not ready. You know, then you do it over your liver for 45 minutes.
And then how long can the person use the same castor oil pack for? Like if they're going to do it like 3 times a week, or you said with the thyroid, sometimes they could do it like daily if they wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, 6 to 9 months or so. If it starts to discolor or it starts to smell or something, switch it out. But usually around 6 to 9 months, I just switch it out. I've actually never had one discolor or smell, but that's kind of the general rule of thumb. So you can use it for a long time, which is really, really nice. And then, as I had mentioned, it's great to have on hand if like you get sick, or maybe you have like an infection that's in your lungs. You can use it over your lungs. I mean, I used to use those on my kids when they were sick all the time to help them recover.
That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that either. So that's great. So
Yeah.
if you have really any type of respiratory infection.
Yeah. They're super gentle. So might as well, you know?
I'm going to ask you a question you might not have the answer to.
Okay.
And that's fine. Maybe you do have the answer, but so you mentioned that castor oil packs help to increase the lymphocytes, but if you were to do like if you had a CBC, complete blood count, with differential, and if the lymphocytes prior to doing anything with castor oil packs, if the person happened to have elevated lymphocytes, would that be a contraindication? Would you say probably they don't want to do the castor oil pack? Or
Right. I know that it raises, it's like the T11. So I guess you would have to know specifically. I feel like you'd need a little bit more details. So maybe I don't really know the answer. I've honestly, well, it's pretty rare that I even see somebody with high lymphocytes, but all of my clients that are open to doing castor oil packs, I'm like, just do them. And I've never had anybody have like a negative reaction or anything like that.
Yeah, and I asked, I don't see a lot of people with elevated lymphocytes. I mean, I have seen them over the years, but what I do see a decent amount of is, you know, like if you look at the CBC, the breakdown of the white blood cell count, you know, neutrophils ideally should be greater than lymphocytes, but I will see frequently where lymphocytes are greater than neutrophils, but they're still within the reference range. But so, yeah, anyway, I just wanted to pick your brain and see what it sounds like. Sounds like it's probably not a big deal. Like you haven't seen anything really negative with someone in that situation.
I've never seen negative reactions unless it's like a little rash or something. And then it's like, okay, just stop doing them for a while. You know, let's work on diet and sleep and other just basic things and then try them again.
All right, sounds good. And is there anything else that I should have asked you about castor oil packs that I didn't ask you, or anything else
I guess
you think people should know?
When should they not be used? So In general, if you're pregnant or nursing, you shouldn't use them. Now, some people say it could be okay. If you're thinking about that, definitely talk to your practitioner, see what they have to say. It is contraindicated if you have an IUD. It could cause extra copper to leach out if you have an IUD with copper, or it could cause it to dislodge. So you don't want to use it then. If you have internal bleeding, you don't want to use a castor oil pack. Or like if you have like Crohn's or like severe diarrhea, IBS, you just need to be careful and maybe just use them for maybe like 10 minutes over the abdomen. And anytime you have any kind of serious issue like that, always talk to your practitioner. Of course, a holistic practitioner might understand a castor oil a little bit more and be able to give you a little bit more guidance. But those are the situations where you wouldn't want to either be using it or, talk to your practitioner first.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance if you went to your primary care doctor or, if you're working with an endocrinologist, and if you asked them about castor oil packs, they probably wouldn't have any idea. So then
probably not, but it's also, always good to just ask, I guess, right?
yeah, it's always good just to play it safe. If you're not sure if you should take it, run it by your medical doctor and see what they have to say. Yeah, but just saying, chances are they'll be like, I don't know. I've never had anybody ask me that question, and I'm not sure.
Right.
So just be prepared for that response.
Yes. Yeah. And I guess too, like if you have an open wound, I feel like that's probably self-explanatory, but so there are some situations, but in general, I mean, I've seen so many people be so helped by them. And a lot of people tell me that it really is very relaxing, like very, very relaxing. So, and I don't know if that's like, just because it's forcing you to sit down, because I know that we live in a pretty hectic world and a lot of us don't really sit down. And I'll just add to that, some of these kits that are sold, they're sold with the idea of like, just Velcro it to yourself and then you just go work. And I think part of it is that you want to lay down, like the body needs to be in that parasympathetic state to detox, heal, repair, rest, restore. And I think it's a good idea to not put that on and then go work at your computer, like allow yourself some time to like sit and chill so that it can have better benefits for you.
Yeah, that's good advice. And do you currently still use them on a regular basis?
Yeah, now, I'm in like maintenance mode for, my thyroid and immune system and stuff. So I'll generally do them like once or twice a week, and then if like I'm feeling like, ooh, I'm not really feeling well, or, sometimes we come in contact with toxins and things like that. And I know the different symptoms that I can have if like, oh, my body was exposed to something, I need to help kind of clear this out. Then I'll do some extra packs that week.
All right, essential oils. I know you also have a lot of experience with essential oils, and
Yeah.
I didn't want to spend too much time on this. Really wanted the focus to be on castor oil packs, but still wanted to chat a little bit about, like, even if you could just discuss some of your favorite essential oils that relate to, the thyroid or could support the immune system for those with Graves and Hashimoto's.
Yeah. I mean, I think the number one thing when it comes to essential oils with thyroid disease is any oil that makes you feel more relaxed. That's probably a good fit for you. Because, the HPA axis balance, our adrenals, if you want to call it adrenal fatigue, whatever you want to call it, that's really important. And keeping the body, helping it shift into that rested state is really important. So diffusing whatever it is that you like is going to be beneficial. And then when it comes to oils that are more specific for the immune system or the thyroid, I mean, frankincense is just like the mother of all of them, right? I mean, it is amazing. So using that daily, I would say with frankincense, using it topically instead of diffusing it, I think you're going to find more benefits. Some of the other ones I like for the thyroid, number one is the frankincense. Myrrh is also really great. It's been used for thousands of years. And It contains properties in it, sesquiterpenes. They can erase or deprogram miswritten codes in cellular memory, which is kind of cool. Lemongrass is another one to really support the thyroid. Basil's great for the adrenals. So we have to remember that endocrine system is all connected. So I like to use oils that are going to support like different parts of the body all together. Let's see here. And marjoram helps support the spleen. And the spleen is an important organ for the immune system when it comes to antibodies and white blood cells and things like that. So it can be a good one to put in there. I really like the blend that I really like. And I would say hundreds and hundreds of people have written back to me just to let me know that it's been very helpful. It's clove, frankincense, myrrh, lemongrass, basil, marjoram. I like to do 10 drops of each in a glass roller ball and then top it off with fractionated coconut oil. If you think that is too potent, then just use less drops. Totally fine. Whatever you're comfortable with, right? That's another very controversial topic that we don't even need to get into. And I find that using it on the bottom of the feet or on the spine is really helpful. There are some people that have told me they use it on their thyroid, on their neck, like lemongrass, things like that. Those are, you can be a little bit more sensitive to some of those oils. And like for me, my skin on my neck and face is more sensitive. So when I use stuff like that, I get a rash. I don't like it, but I can use it on like my spine or the bottoms of my feet. But it can be really helpful. I mean, I've actually had women tell me they use this blend daily. I'm not making any claims or anything, but they use it daily. And then like after a few months, like they were able to lower like their thyroid medication and stuff. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool, you know? And of course, I don't know what else they were doing, right? They could have also been pairing that with a lot of other things, but I found it to be very, very beneficial. But if you're just wanting to, you know, use some oils to help generally, then diffuse some that help you feel less stressed, whether it's lavender, whether it's, I love rose and magnolia and jasmine. I'm very much like a floral kind of a girl when it comes to those, but I don't know if you've seen it's the doTERRA emotional wheel. If you just Google that. Well, let's not Google it. Let's like what? DuckDuckGo it or Brave it or something. But doTERRA emotional wheel. The wheel's really cool because it has a bunch of emotions on the inside. And then on the outside, it shows you different oils that correspond with those emotions. And the first time I ever saw the wheel, I'm like, well, no wonder I like the florals so much because those correspond with different emotions that like I struggle with more. So I just find that wheel very helpful, regardless of whatever brand you use. It could help you realize like what kinds of oils might be best for you to just help your system chill out, you know?
Yeah, and the essential oil blend you mentioned, that's fine, not only with people with Hashimoto's, but also with hyperthyroidism, Graves' disease.
Yeah. Yeah. Use it for everybody. And again, if you're sensitive, pull back, use less drops. Do one swipe instead of 3 swipes. You know what I mean? Like everybody's different. So you do have to kind of figure out like what works best for you. But I found that blend to just, it's amazing, like across the board for people with thyroid issues.
And I know you said you didn't want to go there as far as the controversy, it sounds like with the dosing, but is it because most will recommend like 1 or 2 drops and you mentioned like 10 drops of each? Is that
I feel like no matter what dosage I recommend, there's always somebody that comes out and is like, why would you say that? So I was just, you know, I feel like it's up to you. I personally like the 10 drops of each. I like it when that rollerball blend is more potent. I personally find that really helps me, but some people might be more sensitive or they don't like that. Their body doesn't like it. And so they can use less.
Yeah. Like you said, with, you know, just you were talking about going slow earlier, and the same thing could apply with castor oil packs. They could always try 1 or 2 drops, and then if they feel that's working well, that's great. If not, then they could always try to increase the dosage.
Exactly. Yeah. Slow is the name of the game. That should be our theme today.
Yes, that's a good theme.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, again, thanks for chatting about castor oil packs and also a little bit about essential oils.
Yeah.
And so, you know, where can people find out more about you? I know obviously the website's deliciously-organic.net, but then also you have a thyroid course. Do you want to take a minute or so to talk about that?
Yeah, I have a thyroid course that I put together several years ago, and it is a step-by-step program to help you understand the root cause of your disease, how to support your body, and it has a 90-day protocol, meal plans, all of those types of things. And one thing that the members love about the program is I do a live Q&A session every single Wednesday, so that if you have questions as you go along, you have access to me and you can ask those questions. So you can check that out. And also you can find me like on Instagram. I'm Carrie Vitt over there, and sharing recipes and thyroid tips and autoimmune tips, and just whatever comes to mind each day is what I share.
All right, wonderful. And Carrie was also nice enough to give a coupon code, so I'll make sure it's include a link to our website, the online course, or Instagram channel, and then also we'll include the coupon code for the course.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, thank you again. Thank you so much, Carrie. It was really great chatting with you, and yeah, just thanks for sharing your knowledge with regards to both castor oil packs and again a little bit about essential oils.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.